Hey crafters, welcome to Paulette's Pretty Paper Crafts. It is time for August 2015 name tags. These are the little name badges that I purchased at Walmart Supercenter. You get a pack of 12 of the vinyls for about $2 and a pack of 12 of the clips for about $2. And those just clip right on there and snap on. Super cute. They do come in a horizontal. I actually purchased the vertical and has worked out really well for me over the last few years because it gives me enough space to stamp an image and then still have a space to write our names. My little cards are cut at 2.5 by 3.25, so let's review really quick. If you have 8.5 by 11 cardstock, you're going to stick this in your paper trimmer portrait and you're going to cut it 2.5 and move it along 2.5 and cut again at 2.5. It leaves you a little waste strip. Then you're going to take those little 2.5 pieces and put them in your paper trimmer and cut it 3.25, 3.25, and 3.25. And that gives you the best usage out of your cardstock, and you get 3, 6, 9 name tags out of one piece of cardstock. I always cut 2 at a time, and then I've got enough to do and share at card class. We're going to color these with Copics, and we'll look really briefly at the colors. We've got the number 0 gray, E99, E93, E51. We've also got C4, YG25, RV52, YG06, the colorless blender, RV55, G07, and R29. I also have 2 Bics. I've got Tiki Hut Tan and Misty Blue. I originally stamped all of my little cards in Distress ink, and I want to show you the chain of events that occurred. I stamped this in this Distress Antique Linen because so many card artists are doing the no line coloring, and I actually colored that in. That would be this image right here, and it was a bit lost. So I inked my stamp in black and stamped over the top, but you can see I didn't hit the mark. And that is still cute. I mean, if you look at them side by side, still really cute, but not what I was going for. I stamped it by itself in black, and I decided, gosh, I really kind of liked that halo of the Distress ink. Now this one, he already had a little bit of color in his belly. Let's look at this one. I just really kind of liked that. It just gives more movement to the stamp. So this is what I have stamped, is in both inks, the antique linen and the black. So we're going to color these 2. And when I do this, I do color in succession. I colored about 3 at a time because the inks stay wet across the cardstock, and I can continue to get a little bit of a blend and what have you. I did create a mask just out of the residual ink that was on my stamp so that I could position that exactly where I wanted it and still get that little halo from the Distress ink. I do have a little mark, actually a couple of little marks on this card, and we're just going to take care of that with a craft knife. And let's use a little bit of a fingernail file too. And if you are gentle and quick, you can get by with doing that little bit of surgery. That's not too bad. Still not great, but sometimes you can go in a little bit of a circular motion. Okay, we're just going to roll. We're going to roll with that. I'm going to start with the milky white. And just put some. Now, the idea is, let's look at one that's not inside. Let's look at this one that's not inside the plastic. I want this milky white to kind of peek out, and you can, after this one didn't have a whole lot peeking out, I got a little overzealous there with some of my coloring. But I wanted this to be very limited, but very similar to the stamp. So I think pretty close. Of course, you can use whatever liberties you want to and create and do your own thing. So I'm just going to kind of outline the face. Then we're going to color in the bits that don't have any stamp marks. Then also close to the bottom, I do want a little bit of white down there. And do whatever's easiest. Sometimes when I was doing several, I would do all the paws, I would do all the faces. So whatever ends up a really good flow, I would say go with that. The more you color, the quicker you can go. For me, it's a little less painful if I just go fast. It allows me to be more creative and not worry too much about my coloring. I guess maybe I need to be, that was the E51. Maybe I'll try to put these caps here. I'm going to do a little bit inside the ears. That little cute nose. Now I'm going to do the cheeks, and I have discovered just through doing these cards, if I push away from myself with the marker, I can get a little bit better precision and not have such a messy cheek. If I pull the marker towards myself, I was getting a really, really messy cheek. Which is why I pulled in this color, was so I could go over the cheek about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And dilute the cheeks out a little bit because they were so rosy. But I don't have a color that's in between this. This would have been the perfect time for me to use this light color and pick up this dark color and make my cheeks like Kathy Rakusen taught us in the last 30-day color challenge, just that was in June. But I wasn't thinking about it until it just struck me right now and I mentioned it. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to reserve the E93, which is this lovely peach tone. I did discover that it was a little bit better to blend out the browns if I came back and did it after the brown. So I'm going to do it after the brown. This is the E99 Baked Clay. And once you get a card that is pleasable to you, you can just go by that. I'm going to use this as my guide. Once you get along and have a few colored, pick one that you really, really like and use it to go by and fill out the rest. That's what I always, always do. So we're going to start with this little brown, and basically I'm going to put it where all of these marks are that the artist has done and drawn onto the stamp. And I'm just going to lay down my marker and use it sideways. For most of these, I'm pushing away. That one paw, I had to bring it towards me, and on the feet, I'm going to bring it towards me. Still using the side of the marker. And then on that last little bit, just touching down. So I'm just kind of swiping towards myself and then touching just a little bit to do the rest of the foot there. So let's do this one. A little bit on the ears. And then in those very, very much the lines of the artist. And pushing, and I get to go in super fast when I'm Go at your own pace though. But when you get to, if you're doing something like this, name tags, where you're just coloring in succession, you get to where you can go really fast. Now I'm going to bring in this Tea Rose E93, and I'm just going to go right over, I want a bridge between that milky white color and the brown, and it's just going to cause that to blend a little bit. And it just warms up the face a little bit. I'm going to go right in over the pink of the ears, and all of that's going to blend. And now I'm going to go between the spaces that didn't have the brown, blending on the hands. Right here, blending the brown into that milky white a little bit. I don't want to lose all of the milky white. I love that kind of little, whatever. It's a very pale, kind of goldy color, but not really. Almost a Caucasian skin tone. Originally, I wanted the bellies of my cat to be very white. And so originally, I had only taken the milky white and just made almost a shadow here on the belly. And I accidentally grabbed the E93 and did it over that. And then I had to take the milky white and blend it to try to get it to look like the other cards. And then it looked strange with all this white up here. So I ended up taking the milky white and just blending all of that really well. And oh my gosh, what a beautiful little belly. So I went back and added some of the Tea Rose to all of my bellies. You can see this is what my original bellies looked like. I think that may be why I saved this card. But then, because I had made that mistake and put that in there, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then take the milky white and just blend over that. And then just fill the rest in with the milky white. I haven't got to post my video of my new Copic colors. This milky white and Tea Rose are a couple of my new colors. I bought the milky white to satisfy my need for E00, which is very, very similar to it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fill this in while I'm talking. And then ultimately I ended up going back and ordering the E00, even though it was on back order, and eventually it will get here. I don't know, I'm just really weird sometimes like that. And so, but I love the E00 and felt like I did really, really need it. Not only for people faces, but for critter faces, and some blending. And those really pale colors I discover are just wonderful for blending, not really any other purpose. And when we get to the satchel, you'll see what I mean, because we are going to use a really pale color for some great blending. Okay, now there is, on this little guy, there is a little drop of ink that I guess just, you know, when you pick the stamp up, sometimes it just flicks a little bit of ink somewhere. If you catch it early on, a lot of times an eraser will take it off. And I could use the eraser on that just a little bit, but once the cardstock is torn, you run the risk of tearing that a little bit more. So that's pretty good. I'm just going to leave it. We're not really putting any ink in there, so I think it'll be fine. I did have some, while we're talking about that, here was one that had a serious bit of ink here in the belly, and I ended up scratching that out, and that was a really good reason to color the belly. And then I ended up just coloring all the bellies in. Let's see, there was another one that had a really, it's the one in my name tag. that had a terrible thing of ink here, and I scratched it off and it just got terrible, and then it got up into the strap of the purse, and I used an eraser to try to get rid of that and ended up having to, the cardstock just started peeling away because paper is made in layers. And this is the heavyweight white cardstock from Hobby Lobby. It's the Paper Studio brand, which I believe may be their brand. And that peeled away, so I ended up having to take my liner and draw back in the purse straps. And you know, it's fine. And I've used it for my own name tag, so no one would be the wiser if I didn't share that. You know, I don't like to waste. All right, let's go on. And this one didn't stamp really great, so I'm going to come in after we color just because I have the Sharpie fine point pen, which is what I use to do that. So I'll just lay it over here so I remember to do it. We're going to use the neutral gray, the C4, and the Bic Misty Blue, and also the Bic Tiki Hut Tan to color in these bags. I'm going to take the neutral gray first. And this is kind of what I was talking about, the really light colors. I'm just going to color the whole image here very sloppily, except the little straps. I'm not going to color those because we're going to color them brown. And you can just throw that ink down. These colors are very forgiving. And then I'm going to take this blue and draw the strap. And then quick outline the whole bag. The end piece I felt like needed to be blue. And after you do a whole bunch of these, you can just get along, get it going. Okay, we're done with that blue. Oh, I missed just a little spot right there. Then I'm going to take this cool gray, number 4, and fill in all of this gray area. On the stamp, the bag is actually, the whole bag is blue, and for some reason, well, I guess the top is gray. I don't know, I just felt like I needed to outline that. So, and I just, you know, you got to use what colors you have. So I'm using the only gray colors I have besides the Bic gray, which is a little bit dark. And then I'm going to go back and take this neutral gray and just come along the band there. And then I'm just going to circular motion. I'm using the side of the marker and just wash out or blend, however you want to look at it. It kind of does both. It fades the dark colors and it blends the lighter colors. I just love it. And there's our little satchel bag. And then we can take this little beige marker and fill in, just coloring that whole buckle and strap. Now we're down to the apple. I'm going to take this really dark green, G07, and we're going to make a little swoosh on the leaf. And then we're going to draw in. Now, if we look at the stamp, there is some darker green here that comes all the way across the bottom of the apple. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm just doing some little dash lines, but they're up and down. And just throw those in. I'm going to take the YG06 and color in the stems and swoosh along up into that dark green, leaving a little bit of white, and then swooshing down over that dark green. Half of the apple is green and half of the apple is red. Let me tell you, in 100 years, I would have never thought of mixing red and green. My daughter took me last year to a painting class. This is R29, and we're just going to fill in the other half of the apple with this R29. And we did a painting that was called Fiery Trees, and they gave us some red acrylic paint and some green acrylic paint, and when you mix those two together you get a beautiful kind of burgundy color. And that's what's happening here when we cross the R29 over these two green colors. We're going to get this really nice burgundy in the center. And this one could go just a little bit. It needed a little bit more green is what it needed. So I'm just going to take the green and go right over that red. Now, would you ever in 100 years think that it would create that cool, just kind of brownish, reddish color in the center there? I also had that YG25, which is the lightest green that I have, and I'm going to brush that over the greens just to get those to blend a little bit better. And I think I would like just a tad bit of milky white, a little bit more milky white on that tail. Maybe on that one too. I got a little overzealous with the E93. Okay, I think that's all of it. Super cute. I love this image. I have not used this stamp very often, and it's just darling. I will treasure it forever just because Kathy Rakusin sent it to me. So if you have any questions, be sure and let me know.